I don't know if you saw the clip of this guy who was basically calling out Tariq Nasheed for
Mm.
maybe not believing in the message that he spreads, or maybe not being about the message that he spreads of specifically like lifting up Black people. Foundational Black Americans is the term he uses, FBA.
Mm-hmm.
It's also known in some circles as ADOS, but I think Tariq has coined
I think he's coined
FBA.
foundational Black America. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. And this creator, I need to check his name, but this creator was basically saying that Tariq Nasheed was a coon because he does not live that message. He lives in a white neighborhood, was the claim.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in fact, when you're doing that kind of divisive messaging, that's part of like what takes down all the communities. And it was definitely incendiary for him to use that term coon. And I
Yeah,
don't know if I
I
could
don't
really
know
get
why.
behind that.
I don't even get behind it in the sense that coon isn't even like a word that's in my. It's not in my repertoire. It's not a word that I really use. And I mean, I'm not. I don't typically go running around calling people like you coon. Like that's not something that I would do.
Right.
Because I don't have those kinds of interactions online anyway. I know that there seems to be a space for that.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand why this man didn't realize the the intensity and the insult and just behind him using that word to describe a Tariq. Like whether or not you agree with his ideals, that was just so out of bounds and out of line that he was not just speaking to Tariq at that point. He was just speaking to Black folks. And then now you're also making like socioeconomic judgments on what people
Mm-hmm.
can and can't do or what
Right.
they should and shouldn't do.
Right.
And I mean, you know, far be it to me to sit here and defend somebody that I don't know. But I don't know what Tariq's motivations are behind living in whatever neighborhood that he lives in. Are the
Yeah.
schools something that are better for his children? I don't even know if he has children. I don't know anything about his life. But
Right.
like I don't think that people have to be like the cheese that, you know, stands alone and be that one person that's still in the hood, you know,
Right.
because
Right.
for whatever cause. And you know, then what do you do? I live in the
Well,
hood and
okay.
then I send
The
I,
other side of that, though, the other
yeah.
side of that is, what did you think about some of these Black Lives Matter activists buying like $1 million homes and like assigning relatives to like high salary jobs with money that's raised? It's like there's a little bit of a catch-22 to being
Mm.
someone who's like an advocate and activist. Although I do not think Tariq Nasheed is an activist. Like I don't
No,
think
I
I
don't
think he
think so.
does make his money from a kind of race philosophy, but
Yes.
I don't believe that I see him more as like a marketer. I think he's a marketer of a belief system, but he's not
Yes.
an activist for laws or like social change in that way.
No, I think yeah, exactly. Like he's a speaker, a figure of sorts,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Public
a
figure.
commentator, yeah, public figure. But I don't think that he's purporting to be an activist. I have not seen that particular language. I know that he's talked about issues like he is a strong proponent of like reparations.
Yeah.
He initially had that Hidden Color series. Like there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things that he is very focused on
Does
in
he have a
terms of
policy about reparations though? I think that would
I,
be the decision maker for me.
I believe that if I recall, his position on reparations is that he believes in reparations, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe that he was talking about like reparations starts with a how you like you got to be someone that's a descendant of slaves. But he,
Right,
yes, I believe he was saying that that was his position, which
right. Okay. But he's
which
never
kind of
like put forth like something that would be language for a bill or something to put into law, like nothing like that.
that I'm not entirely sure because I can't say that I've been super tuned into his platform, but I
Right.
do remember seeing some sort of clip where I knew that that was his take, that he was pro reparations for
Got you.
sure. Yeah, and
Yeah.
very specifically to African Americans that are of America, like you know, just have been here
Mhm.
generationally since slavery.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's always tough too when someone who is non-black and a person of color looks to weigh in on your blackness or like
Yeah.
how authentic you are about your support of black people like that. It's just not your pay grade, that's not your territory, it's not your lane, like none of that, especially with the history of non-black people of color and how they're the first to cut bait, like any
Yeah.
like between Mexican American folks, Asian Americans, they are the first to leave us in a lurch when these issues come down to whether we're going to have solidarity or not. And so I think the labeling of like, or the measuring, like the litmus test for the blackness, that was just way out of pocket. It's very much in line with how non-black people of color have treated us generally.
Yeah, that's why I brought up the socioeconomic aspect, because we really, we don't have to be in any one place. I know that in certain cities, you will see that we tend to we do tend to live amongst each other, and even if you do climb into another, if you become like upper middle class or what have you, we do tend to live amongst each other. Brooklyn is a very good example of that.
Yes.
Queens is a very good example of that. Chicago, even parts LA, very good examples of that. So it's just, that was a conversation that he just shouldn't have been having, and he just needed to just listen to someone else and just not take that stance. That was terrible. But I want to go back. I do not want to lose this point that you're making about these Black Lives Matter activists.
Right.
As I've told you before, a lot of that stuff in the beginning, and as always, was very performative. It just was not, it did not, I thought it was just a little bit dirty and inappropriate to speak of it in the moment, because I didn't think I was really helping. Because what I noticed, as someone that's been on social media for such a long time, I noticed in the beginning that these people sort of took on activism as a role or an agenda or an interest because it was making them more popular. So then they started making themselves just like, the speakers, or speaking on behalf of everyone. Like, I am Black Lives Matter, or I am the person to, I'm supposed to be, it's I.
I'm
it's no longer
brother.
about people or their agenda. And it's like, look, I mean, at the end of the day, like when it comes to people and money, when people aren't used to something, I don't care who or what it is. In a lot of instances, very rarely, like I've worked for nonprofits that have folded, where entire departments even got folded, if not the nonprofit itself, because people were mismanaging funds.
Yes.
And then what you speak to as well. I mean, listen, politicians, people that work in city government and other instances, whether that's in a civil capacity or otherwise, activism, all these things, nepotism plays a huge role in people putting people in position when it comes to these kinds of things, because we know, especially when you're tugging at people's heartstrings, you're definitely going to get more of a guaranteed look as well. So all of that doesn't surprise me. It's also lobbyism, all of it. It's just what happens. So I was not surprised.
It's gotten flagrant though with the BLM folks. So
absolutely, I'm saying it always was flagrant to me.
It always was flagrant. You're right, and honestly, that hustle.
It always was, and then my thing is also like, and this might also be a little bit odd to say, but it's also like when you're at BLM and you're doing this, but then I'm kind of noticing that you out here with like your Gucci cufflinks and you're wearing Chanel earrings, like
or a $40,000 dog, a $40,000
guard dog.
Your man Sean King